Well, hello and welcome to the SplashCast. I have a lovely team from Parkersburg, and they're going to introduce themselves. Could both of you introduce yourselves for the camera, please?
My name is Emily Martin, and I am the head swim coach at Parkersburg High School.
And my name is Ian Sasyn. I am a junior at Parkersburg High School, and as well as the junior captain.
Awesome. Well, and of course, if you don't know who I am James Miller, the owner-operator of Swimwv. All right. So I guess my first question is going to be just for both of you. I think now we're in championship conference season and regional season. Kind of talk about what is the thought process in Parkersburg right now? Like, are we ready to declare ourselves state champions? Are we, do we got a lot of work to do? Like, tell me what is the thought process for Parkersburg right now?
I will start, and then Ian can give you his thought process on it. We are definitely not ready to declare ourselves state champions. That seems a bit much. I had a talk with the boys team immediately after the state meet last year. And I think they had a hard time believing me because we came in 7th overall last year. But I looked at them, we were on the bus in between the boys session and the girls session. And I said, you all have the chance to be state champions next year. This team has the potential in it to be state champions next year. And I told them, I said, the work starts tomorrow. It starts by going back to the Y tomorrow and continuing to practice. It starts by practicing over the summer. It definitely doesn't start in October. It definitely does not start in February or January. And I think that they really took that to heart, and they have been busting their butts and working really hard over the summer and throughout the season. And it's definitely something we still have our sights set on for sure. But we know that there's still some work to be done to get there. There's a lot of tough teams across the state this year, and we know it's going to be a tough race. Ian, what do you think?
You said, I agree. And immediately after you did that or gave us that talk after states last year, we all, if not most of us, went back to practice at the Y. And then over the summer, we practiced every morning. And then most of us worked, so we would get practice, then go work, and then practice more probably. Like I would swim laps every now and then after I would be done working, just because I could. And then once the season started, we would go to morning practices that we could go to, because obviously school is sometimes a bit of a burden, and then go to our evening practices and try and stay at it. And we would even lift sometimes too.
Now, Ian, so you last year, I believe you finished 6th in the breaststroke, and I believe right now on the top times you're a little bit further up. So tell me, what is your kind of your goal with the breaststroke this year? Just focusing on Ian. We'll talk more about the team here in a second, but like just focusing on Ian, what is your goal with the breaststroke, or even just your goals in general for the year?
I think it's obvious to place first, but I mean that'd be nice, but top 4 is also nice if not. But no, it'll be close it'll probably be one of the closest events at states this year is 100 breast, because like everyone from first as of right now seeded from top times to like 8th are all very close in time. So it'll be very interesting to how people taper and how people actually swim at states.
Plus in breaststroke, it's really hard. Like it's pretty much all the turn, because it's really hard to like beat each other by throwing our arms out. Like it's not quite as
your turns.
Good.
Your turns are kind of where it's all at. Like usually that is where I lose most of my ground is on my turns, which is why I've been working on my turns a lot.
Yeah, because you just have to. Yeah, especially if you guys are all the same time, it's just okay. Who has the best turn, and that's it's easiest one to know who's going to finish first after the last turn, because usually that's how it happens. So now talk about the team. So you guys walk me towards like a path of success. You guys have a lot of swimmers that not necessarily are on like the number 1 or number 2 slot at the top times. You have that nice middle. talk about I don't want to say stuck in the middle, but you have like a lot in the middle. Talk about how that is as a coach to just know that like there are tons of Parkersburgs in the middle. How do we are we fine in the middle, or are we trying to go? Is there something that you can tell them, like some magical coach advice that you're going to give them that's going to make them escape the middle? Talk about being in the middle for Parkersburg.
I don't know that there's any magical coach advice here. But that's been an issue with the boys team since I took over with head coach 2 years ago. Is we've had a lot of depth. Now our middle is slowly creeping up to upper middle, right? When I first started, we really were right in the middle. Like we were scoring points in that like 12th to 18th range in invitationals, or, at bigger meets in the 6th to 12th range. And so our middle has slowly creeped up, that we're getting boys in 3rd and 4th, and, every now and then a 1st or a 2nd, at an invitational. And so I've watched that kind of slowly creep up, but a lot of the teams that we're competing with, and historically, a lot of the teams who have won the state meet have 1 or 2 standouts, right? Like they have 1 or 2 boys that, they're going to win both of their events. And that secures a lot of points for them. And it also really helps improve those relays, especially if they're sprinters. And so you have those boys that are standouts that are going to help the team tremendously. They make relays kind of untouchable. And, and we don't have that, but we do have a lot of talent in that upper middle. And so I think the key for us, if we are going to win a state championship, is going to be getting those boys who were in the 7th to 12th range last year, or if you look at the meet results last year, we had so many boys score 13th or place 13th and 14th. So they just missed scoring points. Like we hit so many 13th places and 14th places. And so, having those boys move up into B finals. We only had 2 boys in the A final last year, Ian and then Lucian Bumgardner would have been the A final. He was top 6 in the 500 freestyle. And so I think our key is going to be boys like Ian and Cardi and Garrett and Ethan and Lucian all scoring in the top 6, all making it into the A final, needing a couple of those to be top 3 finishes. And then those outside boys really squeezing into the B final and eking out some points, as well as getting, of course, all 3 relays into the A final, because if you don't do that, I don't know that a state championship is possible.
Now talk to me. Now I had your rivals on not too long ago, the big old Parkersburg South. I had Jackson and Quaid on, and then I also had 2 girls on there. Let's talk about that rivalry there for a second. Like, for those that don't see it every day, I feel like it's one of like the bigger of the high school rivalries in the state. Just school, like Parkersburg South. Tell me how that. We'll go with Ian first, and then Emily. Tell me how that works in the swimming world. Are we like best friends? Do you see that they have Parkersburg South and you're like, no, I can't talk to them? Like, talk about that a little bit.
I mean, obviously, well, there's like a rivalry, but for the most part, the kids are relatively good friends of each other. Like we all know who each other are. We usually communicate with each other whenever we're at meets, but there's also a lot of smack talk just because, well, there's a rivalry and it's fun. So, and whenever we have a meet against each other, it's, oh, we won, or we did better in this, or we did better in that. And then you come back and try and do better next time. But I mean, it's fun and everyone means well.
I agree with what Ian said. In across the town, it is a huge rivalry. When you're talking football and basketball, I mean, fights break out. But I think in the swimming world, because swimming across the state is such a tight-knit community, and when you're talking about kids that swim for South or PHS, a lot of them grew up training together for our club team. And so I think it's always been a much more friendly rivalry. Like it exists, but it's always been very friendly. Our parents will historically sit together in the stands. They'll be, we'll be cheering for South kids. As long as they're not racing a PHS kid, we're cheering for the South, for the South swimmers. And I think they do the same for us. So, there's definitely the rivalry there. And this year in the swimming world, it's been interesting because we actually, with this way schedules worked out, have not swam against South yet this year. And we're not going to swim against South until regionals. So we've, kind of been watching them from afar. I'm sure they've been watching us from afar, kind of watching how the results are coming in. And we know that their boys team is very strong, and definitely going to be a competitor in all of this. And so we've been kind of watching them, but haven't had a chance to swim them, which really was disappointing, especially because in our dual meet last year, we tied on the boys. I've never ever seen a tie in a dual meet before, but our boys tied last year. So then to come in this year and not get to see them, knowing they're very strong, and having them, I don't want to say as an unknown, but in something we've not gone directly against until regionals, I think sets up for a really interesting championship season.
All right, so Ian, so I asked people this. So talk to me about the club versus high school. I hate to use versus because tell me, what do you like? Is there things that you like about the high school meet that you like better than club meet? Is there things you like about club meet? Like, because you do both. Like, talk to me about, things that you like, things like it could be like the state meet, it could be just anything. Like what differences, good difference, bad differences between both high school and club swimming?
Well, most of the time the club meets aren't as like crammed in. Like they will spread it out in the days, opposed to where your high school meets are like your big invitational meets, so they'll just cram it all into one day or whatever. Opposed to a club meet where you'll go and they'll do like a couple events a day, and then you'll stay the night somewhere and hang out with all your friends that you're swimming with and just have a good time and build like a relationship or a bond with everyone, like you're a big family.
And I do know, I don't think I don't know if the rest of the state swim meets, like across Virginia and Maryland, I have no idea how they run, because I've lived in West Virginia all my life, but I feel like there's always something special about the West Virginia swim meet. The parade of finals, the picking the music, the years that they used to wear the blue coats, like the referees, instead of being a meet official in your whites, they put on the blue jackets, kind of like Tiger Woods on the last day, put on his red shirt. Maybe I'm just a weird swim nerd, but tell me, what are you most looking for, Ian? And then Emily, you can answer this if you want. What are you most looking forward to in the state swim meet?
I completely forgot about the whole picking the song thing, but definitely that, because I don't think they did it last year because of COVID, now that I think about it. But my freshman year they did, and we all thought it was like really cool. And we were like, all right, we want to get first in our prelims so that way we could pick a song. We thought it was really cool or whatever. So hopefully that gets to happen this year, because that would be a lot of fun.
Well,
yeah, I agree. Last year felt kind of flat because we didn't have finals and you didn't have that excitement of the parades and the picking the songs and that kind of thing. So it felt a little more flat than in other years. So I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to go back to that prelims finals format and, and having that excitement. I think you and I talked about this last year, James, when we were talking about, them not having finals. When they say take your mark in a finals heat at the West Virginia State high school swim meet, you can hear a pin drop in that giant building. Like it gets dead silent, and like the energy, you feel like you can reach out and grab it. And so that to me is the most exciting part of this sport. And even when we don't have kids in a final heat, like just watching that and feeling that excitement is just so much fun.
And plus, I would love to just be able to, because hopefully I'll be calling the state swim meet this year again, because that was so much fun. Just being able to call like the big meets and just being able to see it. I think everyone will enjoy that. So Ian, so now you see yourself. So what are you going to do differently between now and regionals? Because you see you're second, seated second in the breaststroke. Last year, I believe, were you 13th in the IM or something like that? Were you one of those people in the 13th?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I know, and this is just me thinking as a swimmer here. It's been a little while, but like if I finished, I would much rather finish 18th or 24th. I would hate to finish 13th, being like one place away from scoring a point or 1 point away from being in the either of the finals. So what is Ian telling himself differently between now? Because yes, you've already talked about you as soon as your coach mentioned something about how you guys could be better, you went and started swimming more. So you've swam more, you've you've tried to like have that mindset, but now we're about 2 or 3 weeks away. So what can you do differently between now and 2 or 3 weeks? Like, what are you trying to tell yourself for the next 2 or 3 weeks?
Definitely go to more practices, morning practices specifically, and practice bucket turns, because last year for my IM, my hand hit like whenever I went to just back to breast instead of doing a bucket turn, I just like hit, but my hand hit the blocks, so I like paused for a good bit, and then I went. But this year, thankfully, I've learned how to do bucket turns, so that shouldn't happen again this year, which will also allow me to drop a lot more time. And also just going in with a much more positive mindset and just having fun while just competing.
Now, are you one of these? And as a coach, I just kind of roll with this. Are you I need to go buy like a $5,000 tech suit to make this happen, or are you just going to do it? Just some people actually, instead of buying a tech suit, some people buy a Speedo instead of a jammer. That for them, that mentally, what are you going to do? Any of those things, or?
I mean, I already got my tech suit, but no, I normally just wear Speedos anyways, because I've come to learn that they're not all that bad and actually a lot more comfortable. And no, this tech suit definitely helps, but majority of it comes out of you and your taper and how well you actually follow your taper.
Could you tell I need you to tell every swimmer in the state of West Virginia what you just said that over and over again, because yes, I say that all the time, because I feel like the tech suit it sure works, but you have to like have people help you get into it because it's 7 sizes too small. And
yeah. This is just so uncomfortable too.
Yes, yeah. The tech suits are just weird. Especially there was one year that everyone wore like the full body suits. I don't even know how you would even get me to wear one of those. But moving on. So Ian, outside of the sport of swimming, what is because obviously I think if I've done the math right, you swim about, or supposedly you're supposed to swim 4 hours a day, right? Is that 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in Parkersburg practice? Is that correct?
Yeah, around that.
Yeah. So you swim about 4 hours a day. So you see a swimming pool for 4 hours and you see school for 7.5 hours. So, but there's got to be some sort of talent or something unique about yourself that you have. Could you let's tell the state of West Virginia what something unique that's not swimming related, because obviously you do that 4 hours a day. What is something unique about Ian that you'd like to share?
Oh, I have no clue. I normally just go to school, swim, school, swim, and then do homework. But I guess whenever I do have free time, sometimes I will either just hang out with my friends or longboard. That is how I hurt myself last summer, though. But
yeah, no longboards between now and states.
No, it's a good thing it's snowing outside.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I'll try a snowboard.
I got pictures from his mom last year as what happened when he got on the longboard and didn't stay on it very long. So we're not doing that before states.
And I always I've been asking. I don't know if you guys have watched my other SplashCast, but I've asked everyone. So you should be prepared for this next question that I'm going to ask, which is you could. I don't know if you are, Ian. You're like scared here. If you could be dominant in any other sport that's not swimming, what sport do you think it would be?
Probably hockey. I don't know. I like snow. I like the cold, so it would fit.
That's pretty fair. No, I've had a lot of football, a lot of soccer, so I've not had any hockey. So you're the first one that's like a hockey person. Now, and this is for both of you. Favorite swim set that you've ever had. It could be one that your favorite that you like to give your coaches. That's or swimmers, Emily. But for Ian, it could be, you don't have to pick your current coach. You don't have to pick Emily's set, but just the favorite or least favorite, I guess, would be however you want to view it, swim set that you've ever done.
When you say swim set, you mean like workout?
Yes.
I would say any kind of just repetitive distance sets. They're very, very boring. And it's like pulling teeth. You just feel like you're swimming for hours and hours and lose count and then start over.
I think you were supposed to answer your favorite, not the ones that make you want to pull your hair out.
I was supposed to answer my favorite.
Yes. Well, not your least favorite. We now know your least
All right.
favorite. Okay.
My favorite would probably be strokes. That's just because normally I get a decent amount of rest on them because other people do like fly or backstroke or breast. But whenever we do like breast workouts, I get a lot of rest, and it's quite nice.
Good answer. My favorite has to be a classic that came from our former head coach, Terry Nicewarner. We call it the wheel. And so you alternate, 400 freestyle, then 4 100s IM, 300 freestyle, 3 100s IM. Then once you get to the bottom, it switches. So your IM is the straight. So you do like 2 100s freestyle, a 200 IM, and you end with a 400 IM. It's one of our favorites. We do it at least once every year, usually around Christmas time. And by our favorites, I mean coach's favorites. Most of the swimmers, not a fan. Ian probably remembers the wheel. He practiced with me his freshman year. He practices with club's team most of the time now, but his freshman year, he was in my practice group. So he probably remembers the wheel very fondly, I'm sure.
I do remember the wheel, and actually it's not that bad. I kind of liked it because it wasn't boring. It was actually fairly interesting, and it mixed up between strokes and freestyle, so you got to do everything. So it was nice.
It's not like the 100 100s. I still am like a big fan of the 100 100s. That's just me. But only one person has answered that. But only because I like the fact that after you're done swimming the 100 100s, A, you don't feel like doing anything for the next like 2 days. But B, it's usually there's like lots of food afterwards. So that's
a fair point.
Yeah. It's not the 100 100s that I liked. It was the usual, the nice breakfast if we did it in the morning that the swim parents would cook for me. So,
and see, as a swimmer, that would have been my answer would have been something like that. I was the opposite of Ian. I was a distance swimmer. I was mid distance, but I usually trained distance, and I much prefer the long, boring freestyle sets where I didn't have to do any other stroke because did not like the other strokes. I was a butterflyer, and no one, even butterflyers, don't like butterfly.
yeah.
And backstroke and breaststroke were terrible. So if I could just swim freestyle the whole time, I was happy, and if I could just turn my brain off and swim for 2 hours straight, also happy. So my answer would have been like the opposite of Ian's. I don't get bored. I just chill out and have fun.
Now, what is something that there's been some really good answers to these. I was actually surprised with some of these answers that I've gotten. But what is moving kind of back to high school swimming? Is there something unique that Parkersburg does for regionals or states or championship meets? Is there some sort of team tradition that you all have that always makes it feel like the season? Or tell me about like a Parkersburg, the team tradition and last year kind of doesn't count, but just kind of any like team traditions that you have. And Ian's laughing, so let's start with Ian.
I don't know if you want to call them traditions, but just more so like shenanigans that happen during the days before states or whatever. Like last year we cut our coach's hair, and that was a whole ordeal. It was pretty fun though.
Tell them what else you did, Ian. Go ahead. Tell them what else you did.
We also made soup in a bathtub.
You made what?
Soup in a bathtub.
Yes.
I want to be clear, they cleaned it all up. There were no bathtubs formed.
It was pretty funny though, because it looked a lot cleaner after than before. So I guess we kind of did them a bit of a favor there. And also,
I want to be clear, I did not know this was happening until after it was happening, after it had already happened. The bathtub had been drained.
Shaving parties are also fun.
So last year at state meet, in one room, they were cutting our former assistant coach's hair in the bathtub. And in the other room, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know about the hair cutting. Unbeknownst to me, some of our boys were making a large batch of soup in the bathtub of the hotel room with powdered broth.
And noodles.
Yeah, no, they brought noodles. I came in and I said, well, why are all of these bags of noodles on there? Like, why would you put noodles in this? And I want to be clear, they did bring a strainer and no noodles went down the drain. But I said, why did you bring noodles? And one of the boys, I can't remember who, looks at me and goes, if there's no noodles in it, it's not soup, it's just broth. So they like, that's their traditions. That is not, I want to be clear, that is not a team endorsed tradition. They like harmless shenanigans
Now,
to make their coach crazy. That is their favorite.
now, did we actually eat this soup?
One of them did.
One person did.
Oh, also one of the boys sat in it.
It's Ethan.
It was Ethan Noodle Soup because Ethan sat in it.
Ethan sat on it, and then he also ate it. And
then
funny enough, the noodles actually did cook.
That might be my favorite.
So I want to be clear, that is not a team tradition. It is not coach endorsed. But I didn't yell because by the time I got in there, they cleaned it up. They had Clorox wipes. I gave them a bottle of Lysol and we sprayed down the tub with Lysol. And
I don't even know how you yell at
it
that.
up.
As a coach, I don't even know how I would yell. I feel like it would be one of those moments that you would yell as you're laughing. It would be like a laugh yell.
I mean, they planned ahead. They brought a strainer. They didn't quite plan ahead the cleaning because most of the cleaning supplies were actually supplied by me. But they did bring a strainer so that they could clean out all the noodles, and they planned on cleaning it up. And by the time I got in there, they were cleaning it up. So, responsible shenanigans, I suppose. I'm scared to see what happens this year.
Well, they're not going to tell you this year. They're going to wait until after, it's like May, and then they'll tell you, oh, by the way, this is what happened this year.
Yeah. Yep.
Probably.
So I would say my favorite team tradition is that every year on the way home from states, we stop at the Outback in Bridgeport and have a team meal. We get appetizers for the table and we all sit down and eat Outback together. And that has been like a really fun tradition for us to kind of cap out the year as soon as we're done with states to have our meal at Outback on our way home. So much less fun.
Yeah, but it's, that's the,
it's not Ethan Noodle Soup, but it's something.
Sorry, I'm just imagining what would happen if like one of my swimmers was like, we're having Ethan Noodle Soup. So you're a team captain, right, Ian?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me, what are the conversations that you're having with? Are you having some major conversations about states and regionals and like watch out for this guy? Like what is your job as a captain? How is that going to help play and help bring you guys towards a regional or state or any of those titles?
Normally all we just do is we all communicate with each other and we talk about after like a meet has happened, usually with South, because we get to race South and we're like, all right, here are the results, because they like to talk a lot of smack, and we're like, all right, this is where we beat them here, here, and here, and this is where we need to improve at. That's pretty much it.
Fair enough. Now so you are good friends with Southie. So I can so whenever you could talk to Jackson and Quaid, because those are the two I interviewed before you. So that you guys are pretty close, except when you're swimming each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually we all talk at meets. Sometimes we'll mess around. Like I remember my freshman year, I forget who it was, but he graduated either last year or the year before that, but we would always walk around, talk to all the kids on the other teams. I've just become very social now because of him. And we just, so now I pretty much just know a lot of kids from different teams. We always just mess with each other. We'll get like the little ducks that they do at meets, and we'll fill them with water, squirt each other and act like we didn't do it or something. Just have fun.
That's awesome. All right. So, well, I want to thank you all both. On that note, I'm still on the Ethan Noodle Soup. But on that note, I wish you both luck. I hope that I can call the state meet this year. If not, you'll see me on the sidelines. I'll be doing something. So, but thank you both. And I know I've enjoyed this interview, and I hope West Virginia enjoys it too. So thank you both for coming on.
Thank you, James. We appreciate you very much.
No problem.
Thank you.
Oh.